Welcome back to the Manor. Julian McBain here, and we are back with Mayhem. Where are those? Lost track of where I was. So, okay, before we get started, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the Manor. Please take a moment and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time, so make sure you subscribe. Also, please consider going to patreon.com/JulianMcBain if you want to support my work. If you do, you will get a copy of the Modern Entropian and Personal Finance for Gamers. Thank you so much for your support. Gotta say, finding swords sometimes is not easy in this game. Like, seriously, I ran out of my LB35 that I'm using now is almost out. And so I went to the auction house and there wasn't one there. So I had to scour the malls. It took me an hour to find a sword. But that's okay. Actually shopping. Now let's pop one of these for the hell of it. Get some extra skills. I opened some boxes, and I meant to buy keys, and of course I bought the classified strong boxes and the keys, so now I've got a bunch of strong boxes I don't need. I was trying to get rid of strong boxes. I ended up canceling them out. That's okay. I'll end up going through them eventually. Now that MindArc's web store is actually working again. That was a mess. I have no clue what happened there. But their web store went down for a pretty appreciable length of time. I actually stopped playing aggressively for a while because I just couldn't buy ammo. You know what I'm saying? Because when I depot, I buy universal ammo, and then I turn around and use the profits from that to buy other things. I just couldn't. Which I thought was kind of nuts, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, shit happens, but it was just like, it was crazy, and it was crazy that it was down for more than like a day. That's what really surprised me. I figured that they'd be like, shut everything else down. This is the only thing we're working on. And maybe it was. I mean, to be fair, MindArc's development team could probably fit comfortably in a small conference room. But it was very frustrating. It was very frustrating. I know other people have probably expressed frustration in the past about it. It's over and done with. It's probably been over a month since it was recovered, but it did shock me. But yeah, no, I went looking for swords, and to be fair, melee is not as popular as I personally wish it was. I'm kind of a melee guy. I like playing melee. I like all the benefits that playing melee comes with. But it does mean that I'm at a disadvantage when I have to go looking for weapons. I found it in there's a shop on floor 2 or 3 of the Port Atlantis Mall that has like everything R-Matrix. And they have one of each thing. And I thought, oh, maybe I can use the LB40, and no, I cannot use the LB40. Okay, well, we'll go with that. The LB40 would have put me at such a disadvantage, I would have just lost ground. So we're not going to go there yet, because I just don't have the skills yet. Which is fair. We're working on it. Maybe by the time Merry Mayhem's over, I will be ready for the LB40. Which, of course, means that my ped card's going to start crying every time I need to buy a sword. Boy. This game does get progressively more pricey as you go up the food chain. I should probably spend more time sweating mobs. And I think after Mayhem, I'm going to be doing a lot of that on Cyrene. Just, like, I'll put, like, Star Trek in the background and just be grind sweating mobs. But it's all good because, you know, even then I'm still gaining those evade points. I'm getting other skills, my concentration up because I do use Mind Force. I wanted to work on my rifle a little bit, and the rifle does have a longer range, which is why I'm using a rifle this time around instead of Mind Force for pulling mobs. During Merry Mayhem, I haven't decided which to use. Because I do like having like I like having a broad range of skills to work within, you know, because you never know. Some mobs are more susceptible to the lasers, and other mobs are more susceptible to the Mind Force. But no matter what I use to pull the mob, the sword is where it's at. You know, it's funny, when I was a kid, I always fancied myself the artillerist. Stand at range and just lob shells. Yeah, to be fair, because I played an artillerist so much, I actually got pretty good at indirect fire. Like, if I was in a game and there was an indirect fire option, I got pretty good at bullseyeing people with indirect fire, or at least because there's splash damage, hitting them with the splash damage. I also got fairly good at lobbing snowballs over blind and managing to hit people. Not, you know, not as accurate as a person who can peg them at people, but just figuring out the way people would normally stand when behind cover in like a snowball fight, which I know is kind of inane, but I thought it was cool. You know, I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic tonight. It snowed for the first time this year today, and it's snowing again tonight. So that's where that comes from. Winter is finally here. I mean, it's technically fall. Daylight savings time is now over, which means I get out of work and it's dark. But it started snowing. We're expecting like 3 inches, and it's Monday night. For those of you who wonder, it's Monday night. Tomorrow, which will be yesterday for you, I'm going to be probably not live streaming. You'll know by now whether or not I live stream on Tuesday. And if I don't live stream a game, I'll be live streaming on another platform on Facebook. So I hope that if that's the type of thing that interests you, you'll be joining us there. But that's all politics. I'm saying this as if it's happening in the future. This is Wednesday. I need to remember I'm recording this for Wednesday, and all of this shit has already happened. So I don't know what I'm talking about at this point. Who knows? Maybe by now the whole world is burning down around our ears. I hope not. So yeah, that got kind of dark there for a minute. I guess it's kind of fitting. We are doing Halloween Mayhem. You know, zombies all around us. You know, if we were going to live, you know, we live in a cyberpunk dystopia. You know, let's just face it. We live in a cyberpunk dystopia. We don't even get the fun stuff, right? I've bitched about this before. Where's the cybernetics? You know, I know that Elon Musk is working on Cyberlink. I think it's called Cyberlink. Neuralink. It's called Neuralink. He's working on Neuralink. I keep pinging him on Twitter. I'm like, I volunteer. I want to be a test subject. Pick me. Never get a message back. Be an early cyborg. I mean, we already have cyborgs, you know. Cochlear implants are early cybernetics. And they work really well. From what I understand, they are fantastic. So we have cyborgs. But there was always something about the subdermal. And I mean, we got people who put like the The chips. They're also in your card. Oh my god, my brain can't function. I'm not even drinking. EMV chip. No, that's the actual card one. You know, subdermal earbuds. RFID. That's the frickin'. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, RFID chips. Some people plant RFID under their skin, and I know you can like chip your children now. I'm not sure how I feel about that because then they can track them. And I know I carry a homing device in my pocket where the evil corporations, quote unquote, can track me all the time. It has a microphone. It's listening to everything I say. Which is why I'm always careful to say that Apple's an asshole and not Google, because Google owns made the phone that I have. But all my friends that have iPhones, Julian, you ass. But if we were gonna have an apocalypse, I was really hoping for the zombies. Actually, I kind of got over the zombies in the early 2000s. Remember back when I was at the end of my high school? I had just graduated from high school. It was before I went to college. It was zombies everything. You know? Like, everything was about zombies. Shaun of the Dead, Resident Evil movies came out. The movies, not the games. The games are classics. But the movies came out. It was before The Walking Dead made zombies chic again. But it was just like zombies everywhere. Everything was about zombies. And so I kind of finally got over it. But, and what was that one where, oh damn, I can't remember. It was actually like a slug or a worm got in and killed the person and reanimated their bodies. I can't remember. Slither. I think that was the name of the movie. The cop runs into the sorority where they're holding a party. And he goes, girls, I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is your boyfriends are all here. The bad news is they're all dead. I'm like, oh my god, that's so fucking campy. Just B-rated shit. Although I have to admit, as when it comes to scary movies, right? I couldn't watch slasher flicks as a kid. Like, my friends loved, so I couldn't stand slasher flicks as a kid. When I became an adult, these two guys, I think they were brothers, came out with Scary Movie. And I watched Scary Movie, which is a parody that, like, for those of you who have never seen it, I'm sure everyone's probably seen it, but for those of you who have never seen Scary Movie, it pushes boundaries like over the top. All kinds of dirty jokes and it pokes fun at every freaking slasher flick known out there. It's just over the top, hilarious, stupid. Like, there are few stupid humor movies I enjoy. I enjoyed this movie, right? And, I mean, it pokes fun at Scream, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and, those are the only two I really know off the top of my head, to be honest, because it was never really my thing. But after watching Scary Movie, I went back and watched, like, Scream, and it wasn't scary anymore. I was too busy laughing because I knew the part in freaking Scary Movie that came after it. You're all like, oh boy, Julian tangented again. I don't know, I guess it's nice to just kind of have a couple of unfocused episodes. And I don't do them like I used to. Like, I used to give myself that vlog, and I mentioned this last time. I used to give myself that vlog to just talk about whatever the hell I wanted. And then I stopped doing it. And maybe it's good that I stopped doing it, but at the same time, sometimes you just need that time to just spout off about whatever the hell you want. You know? And I think that's a good thing. I do. I will admit that being 4 hours in and only having 1,200 or just under 1,300 points kind of makes me sad. Because unless I get a huge bump, I ain't placing in this. I'm not even coming close, which I never really expected to. I more do this for farming my Mayhem tokens than anything. But it would be faster if I could place. I'll definitely not make first. I mean, I won't say I won't, because if I say I won't, I'll suddenly come in first place and I'll make myself a liar. But looking at it, there is a low likelihood that I will actually manage to get a placement token in these. I mean, only one person gets them. But I will say that if I ever did, I would have to save it for that Mayhem LB50, because it's the only sword on there. Like, I wouldn't save it for the armor, or no, it would be LB50. That's where we're headed. That's what I'm doing. Even if I can't use it, I'll be able to use it eventually. And then I've got a UL solid sword. I believe it's still an ammo burner, so its decay will be pretty standard. And I'll never have to worry about not having a sword again. I mean, yeah, it's not going to help me in the top categories of Mayhem. But by that time, it'll be so expensive to do Mayhem, I probably won't be participating at the level. I'll just do practice and farm. Okay, that's probably not true, but I can at least delude myself for the time being, okay? Be nice to get a couple of good points boosts, though. Oh, we got a mini. Not gonna bitch about the mini. You know, I do think if I pop the pill, the returns on the ammo are lower, because I think more of the ped goes into the skills. Oh, maybe not. 994 versus 587. No, maybe it's breaking even. Instead, because usually the return in Universal or in Shrapnel is slightly better in Mayhem than it is on average. Huh. I don't know that for sure. Guess that's something that would require some research. Here we are, we're running low on sword here. I think I'm going to manage to get one more mob out of this blade. I think I'm going to manage to get one more, and then we'll have to turn and burn. Oh. Tier 2 on the gun. Too bad it's limited. Oh, I never repaired? Oh, that's not good. That is not good at all. I thought I did do the repairs, though. I vividly recall doing the repairs. That's not good at all. Okay, run back, run back. Thankfully, we've got a repair terminal in here. I don't want to waste too many seconds. 197.52. There goes all my ped. Oh my goodness. But we're good to go. 197.52. Holy crap. 5-2. That was quite the butcher's bill. Ouch. Oof. Oh, we'll get another one out of it. Might even get two. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize I didn't repair last night. Wow, that was really dumb. I was tired. Time change. Time change just hammered me. I want to try to maximize the use of the sword, but I don't want to end up in combat when it runs out, because you're just burning armor decay at that point. So I guess it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I guess it just depends on how much time it takes you to swap. I know for a fact I've got one more. It takes about 60 peck worth of decay in base weapon to kill one of these. Oh, maybe it's less. I can do one more. I can do one more. Let's push our luck. I'm always up for pushing my luck a little bit. We can go one more. We're going to be right down to the wire. Oh, we can do this. Whoops. Oh, it's going to be close. You're not allowed to evade. Boom. I forgot I can actually set up the next weapon while I'm waiting for the other one to die. That's good stuff. I will say this. Mayhem is 110% easier. I mean, just combat's 110% easier when you invest in the damn lifesteal amps. Like, I am not joking. Straight up, that's just the way it is. It is 110% easier when you invest in lifesteal amps. I cannot push that enough. That kind of hurt, dude. Not that I'm bitching Mind Arc. I mean, I got a few globals last night, but I wouldn't mind a couple today. Okay, I shouldn't bitch. I do get my fair share of globals. But considering the amount of pet outlay that any Mayhem has, I always hope for that increased amount. Or a Hoff. A Hoff would be good. I haven't seen one of those in a couple of years. Like a true Hoff, not, oh, look, you got a piece of a Hoff and it's like 10 pack. I had that happen a couple times. And it feels really good because you get the music and it's like 1 ped 97. Well, our score hasn't gone up much this first half hour. I think it's gone up maybe a point, but we're having fun. Oh, there's the next point. Thank you, Mind Arc. Ow. Hit me so hard he knocked me off the wireframe. You know, I gotta wonder how many people only play Entropia Universe during the Mayhems and during Migration. Because I know that there is a sharp uptick in players during those time periods. And then they go to other things again, and then they come back. But I seriously would like to know how many players pretty strictly play during Mayhem and Migration. I mean, the way they run them, Mind Arc could make its entire year off those 5 events, right? Hands down. Because I'm pretty sure there are 4 Mayhems. Easter, Summer, Halloween, and Merry. And I don't believe there's a Fall Mayhem. I'm pretty sure there isn't. Someone can, fact check me on that. Or I don't think there's a 5th Mayhem. Fact check me on that instead. But because I think with the exception of Summer Mayhem, they're pretty much all aligned to holidays. And even Summer Mayhem's aligned to Midsummer for those who are familiar with it. Actually, I think they're essentially the 2 solstices and the 2 equinoxes. No. Yeah. Midsummer. Halloween is the final harvest. It's not the vernal equinox, but it's the final or the fall autumn equinox, but it's the final harvest. And then you have Easter, which marks spring, and Yule. Merry Mayhem would be Yule, or the winter solstice. That would actually make a lot of sense. And then you've got Migration, which follows Migration. I don't know how they decided to hold it at that particular point. Come on. Knock him down. Thank you. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached that point in my video where I've hit a half hour and therefore run out of things to talk about. It always takes me like a couple minutes to come up with more material at this point. Sorry. I will say, if you ever have the opportunity, visit the various malls. Like, really take a look. There's some interesting stuff in some of them. There was some stuff there that I was like, oh wow, I didn't even think that I would find this on a shelf. Things like, and I know this is pretty mundane, but a Solomate Apollo, which is no longer available. It's the old TT rifle, but it was the SGA Unlimited Edition. So that was pretty cool. Of course, I'm someone who likes rare items to begin with, little curiosities. I don't have any place to store them outside of my storage terminal because I don't have an apartment, so of course I'm not going to buy anything that I can't afford to use the space in my already pretty loaded storage terminal up. But I thought it was cool. I've always been kind of a person who enjoys curios and relics. You know, I like relics. Things that have a story. Like currently, I don't have a huge number of like antiques or anything like that. My ex-wife had a teacup collection. I think I actually still have most of those, which, long story. But I do have a sword, which should shock nobody. I found it in an antique mall in Quechee, Vermont. For those of you who ever come to Vermont, Quechee is famous for two things: its gorge and its antique mall. I found it in an antiques mall in Quechee, Vermont, and the place is huge. It's like 2 or 3 stories, and it's all antiques, all types of shit you wouldn't believe. But I found this sword, and it was in pretty rough shape, but I mean, it was definitely a nice sword, and it felt more solid than anything you'd buy like it off Bud K or some shit like that. It was $40. So I'm like, you know what? I got the money. I'm gonna buy it. So I bought it, and I've always had it. And after I became a fencer, I learned how to care for and eventually restore blades. So I actually went through a lengthy restoration process on it. That only took me 2-3 weeks. 2 or 3 weekends, I should say. I shouldn't say it took me 2 or 3 full weeks. It was like 2 or 3 weekends of careful sanding and polishing and buffing and all of that other wonderful stuff. Come to find out, it was forged in 1893. I believe it's a Knights of Columbus sword. I haven't been able to nail that down. I did check with the Knights Templar, the Masonic Knights Templar, and it's not a commandery sword. So I believe it's a Knights of Columbus sword. I need to check with the Knights of Columbus to see if it is one of theirs. And it was made by the same company who made the sabers for the army during the Mexican American 1893. Was that Mexican American or Spanish American? 1893 war. Whoops, that's not the rifle I wanted. This is what I get for not paying attention. I think that was... No, it couldn't have been the Mexican-American War because that would have been... Texas was already a state. 1898, Spanish-American War. I was close. Oh, it didn't even last the whole year. So it was made around the time of the Spanish-American War. It was before then. But the same company that made all the blades they made for the army for the Spanish-American War, which the army was still regularly using them and did so right until World War I do believe. For actual combat, not just for ceremony, because yes, the Army Saber is still a weapon on the TO&E that is issued out to officers and certain NCOs, yada yada yada. You do not want to bring one of those into a battle. But the old ones you could, and this sword was made by the same company. And there's a bend in the tip, and there's blood pitting on the top 3 inches. So and there's nicks on the blade showing it was definitely hitting another blade. So I don't know if it was used in a duel, or if I'm just I could be making a mistake at the pitting on the front 3 inches, but pretty easy to tell the difference between that and rust. But the blade nicks are completely undeniable when it comes to nicks created from hitting another blade. So I know at least it was used for hitting another blade at some point, which I find kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm someone who enjoys curios and relics of various sorts. One of my like dream trips is to go to the Vatican and visit the vaults, the catacombs underneath the Vatican. Not because I'm Catholic, because I'm not. I technically am, but I'm not. Just because of all of the cool shit to be seen down there. And yes, I would love to spend some time in the library that's under there. And I know for a fact they never let me in. They actually, I think it was less than 10 years ago, they let the first video crew down there under very strict guard. And you don't fuck with the Swiss guard. Like, Swiss guards around and special forces look at them and have pause before they're willing to mess with them. I mean, these guys are... Pretty sure they're the only military force that can still use halberds the way they were meant to be used and are good at it. You know, like no shit. They can actually swing those suckers. But I think it would be cool. I do. So yeah, anyway, that was the mother of all tangents there. Not that I'm unknown for doing that. But the brain cramp. Oh, diving through the malls, you get to see all kinds of items from Entropia's history. You know, weapons that are no longer available, things that are extremely rare. I actually found a vampire cloak out there at one point, but it was like, I think it was like $2,000. It's like, I'm not paying $2,000 for a freaking cloak that gives me a 1% lifesteal. Because that's all it gives you is a 1% lifesteal. Is a 1% lifesteal awesome? Yes. Is it worth $2,000? No. Yeah, that's US dollars. Not 2,000 PED, 2,000 US dollars. Not doing it. You know what? It might have been 2,000 PED. It might have been 2,000 PED. Maybe it was only $200. But still, $200 for a 1% lifesteal. No. Not happening. You know, I'll just keep buying the amps. Because I do like the lifesteal. Like, I am a person who lives on lifesteal. I did it in WoW. I do it here. If I could have figured out how to make that happen in Final Fantasy, I would have been living on that shit there too. You know what I'm saying? I like it when I rely on being in combat to keep my health up. It's totally counterintuitive. But that's why I loved playing a Death Knight. It's like, if I want to get my health up, I gotta jump into combat and just go to town. Because, of course, I played a Blood Death Knight, which are basically vampiric in nature. I actually kind of hope when Virtueverse comes out, they've got something that can add lifesteal. Maybe I ought to ping the devs about that. Speaking of which, Friday, 6 November, they're doing EA 4.1, so after you're done with the Mayhem, make sure you jump back over there and do your thing. Check it out if you haven't yet. Go to virtueverse.io, join the Discord, download the game from the Discord, and I believe it's November 6th through the following Friday, which would be the 15th, I think? 15th or 16th? UTC. So servers open usually, like, I think they technically open Thursday night if you're in America. But it's it's all UTC time, just like Entropia Universe. And hop in and play. Give it a shot if you haven't yet. I always have a great time. It's it's a totally different combat style than Entropia Universe. So like when it comes out, I'll be playing both. Hands down, I will be playing both because it's gonna depend on what I'm feeling like doing that night. Entropia Universe is like the ultimate low-key type of game. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of hands off. You can watch a movie on the side. You can chill with your friends. You can chat. Real easy. It's super low-key. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more high-strung combat, you jump into Virtueverse, and it's like Entropia Universe. Oh boy, Entropia Universe meets Dark Souls, depending on the mob that you're facing. Because there are a lot of lower level mobs, not a big deal. If you pay attention, you'll be fine. But there's a lot of higher level mobs that you can actually face at low level if you Dark Souls that shit up. Like, no joke. And they're adding all kinds of things. They're adding in pieces that can turn into a rotation. I'm already trying to figure out how I'm going to design my build, because you actually do have a build there. Like in Entropia Universe, your build is just your armor and your weapons. There, it's like, what moves are you going to focus on? What passives are you going to focus on to make it so that you can play the style you want to play and be effective? And it's like, well, this is me. So, taunts, please. Tank it up. Max out the hit points, get the taunt, which you have to do Brawler for. I haven't figured out what weapons to use for that yet. I think they're going to have more power fists than EU has. Because that taunt is super useful. I think they're still working out the exact potency of it, but the ability to just taunt the opponent and hold aggro, you could have someone playing a dedicated healer, and you just hold aggro and tank while other players just beat the shit out of it. But yeah, you can actually focus a build of some sort to come out with like a more specialized tune or avatar, and I'm really looking forward to that. And that's something I do miss from WoW, is that ability to like really customize your tune. And I guess they came out with a classless WoW that appears to be tacitly endorsed by Blizzard. Blizzard hasn't shut them down yet. Let's put it that way. And they're like actively advertising. So that shocked the hell out of me. But you can just pick and choose skills from various friggin' player classes and mix and match them to be what you want them to be, which I think is actually kind of cool. And Virtueverse is going to operate in much the same way. But what you have to keep in mind is if you're going to build using a certain skill tree, you got to grind the tree. So, like, I'm a melee player. I've always been a melee player. It's what I do. So I mostly grind the sword tree. Well, I also like using pole arms. And you've got this it's essentially the jump command from Final Fantasy. You leap high into the air and you just bring death upon your opponent with a giant-ass pole arm. It's the one true form. So I definitely want to grind pole arm too. And actually, the pole arm is often more effective and has longer range than the sword. Now, keep in mind, they haven't got the full robustness of the weapons loadout yet, so I'm sure that they will have higher potency swords. But I like the fact that the pole arm has a little bit more reach. So ideally what I could do is I could grind swords, get all of the hit points the swords offer, which I think that once you have all of the swords buffs, just the swords buffs, you've got 48%, you've got 48 extra hit points. It's 48% above baseline health. That's a huge difference. And then if you grind out the hit points from the other segments and the percentages, you could be a really tanky avatar for that game. Does that mean it's going to be the same as playing, a warrior or a death knight in WoW? No, it's not going to be the same. There's no comparison because WoW really focuses the specialization really narrowly so that you're either a tank or a deeps or a healer. And with the exception of some outstanding players, one of which I used to date, you can't get out of your lane. Exceptions to the rule definitely exist, and I have seen a Holy Priest in WoW tank a dungeon boss at level. Successfully. It was the most epic shit I've ever seen in my life. But it will allow for that degree of customization. So if you want to be a little more specialized, make yourself a little bit more saleable to groups going into dungeons for one particular skill set, you can do that. Now me, I play the tank. It's what I do. So I'm definitely going to be focused on hit points and making sure I know how to keep aggro and dodge out of the way and be able to soak damage if I have to soak damage. And I'm really hoping they do come out with a lifesteal. Now, that being said, you begin to regenerate health relatively quickly in Virtueverse. So I don't foresee there being a huge need for a lifesteal, unlike like in Entropia Universe where the regen is really slow. And that's not a criticism. There's a balance there to be kept, and I think that's a good balance to have. Where in Entropia Universe you have the slower regen, whereas in Virtueverse you have a faster one, but you have to be a lot more on your A game to survive higher level mobs in Virtueverse. Whereas with Entropia, it's when you face the monster, you better know whether or not you can beat it, or you got to be really fast on the Mind Force or Fat key. And be able to heal yourself and heal through their damage. They're both play styles have their place, and both play styles have their benefits. And depending on what you're looking for in a knight, I think being able to play both is fantastic. I do. I absolutely do. And I'm really looking forward to it myself. But that's just me. The other thing that's going to be interesting to watch is I came into Entropia Universe late in its life. I mean, true. Entropia Universe still has a lot of time left to it. I think this game is as long as MMOs exist and no legal group tries coming after them, Entropia Universe is probably going to survive me. Okay? It's owned by some super eccentric Swedish rich guy. It's operated by an elite team of programmers. And it's heavily monitored by the Swedish government because real money's involved. I have zero doubt that it's going to be around longer than I am. Like I'm going to be 120 years old. I'm going to finally pass away. My grandchildren are going to come after my avatar to see what they can do to disposition it. Maybe there'll be a TOS update where if I can upload my consciousness, that's allowed, or I can assign an AI to continue playing my avatar forevermore under the supervision of my great-great-grandchildren. And I'll be level, 200 in my skills. And they'll disposition the avatar with Mindark, and Mindark will parse out my in-game possessions to all of their avatars if they have them, or they can just chip out. And then if I can't upload my consciousness to either this game or to Virtueverse, a real cash economy game where I can live forever, I would hope that Mindark would work with my heirs to bring my avatar here to log out for the last time. Wait till Halloween Mayhem. And if I end up with an apartment or something like that, maybe I'll have them do it there, but if I pass, I would want my avatar memorialized like in the Mayhem graveyard or in an in-game graveyard. I know there are some games that do it. In fact, I think there is an actual cemetery here. I think it's on Toulon. It's either on Toulon or next island. I'm pretty sure there is a memorial to fallen Entropians. I can't remember which planet it's on. I'm almost positive there's a memorial to fallen Entropians. And I think it'd be really cool if... I think it would be really cool if a lot of MMOs would do that. You know, have it be part of the last will and testament of the player. If they, you know, have the forethought to do that. Where their various avatars get dispositioned. You know, please upon the memorial for the game, place my name upon the stone. Either the name of the avatar or the player's actual name. And then have my final logout place be here. I think that would be really cool. I know, I'm weird. And that got dark again. But, I mean, to be fair, I used to be an estate banker. I work in insurance. There, I finally said it. I work in insurance. So, I gotta deal with this shit a lot. Not as much now as I used to. I don't do as, you know, life insurance is a thing I gotta deal with. You gotta have some pretty dark conversations with people when you do that job. But when you're dealing with estates, it's the same thing. You're dealing with the heirs. And when you're dealing with trusts, it's all the same thing. I used to do that too. And, so it makes me think about shit like this. And no, nothing I did today made me think about it, but it's always in the back of your mind when you do it for a job. I'm sure lawyers, especially like estate lawyers and family lawyers and things like that, I'm sure they think about it quite a bit. Just, it comes with it. You know, we know we're not here forever, right? Someday we shall travel to that undiscovered country from which no traveler returns. But that's part of life. Doesn't mean I don't want to make sure I don't leave something of a legacy behind me. I guess that's where I was going with that. Hopefully I didn't lose everybody. That was a nice drop. Yeah, I think we lost ammo because of that pill. I'm willing to bet we did. Hey, tear up. Although we didn't go through too much of this sword because of the other one. That's good. It's probably going to take me another 2 swords to get through this. Probably 3. This is my 3rd one. Although the first one wasn't a full sword. The first one wasn't a full sword. So I think that one was already actually down to almost half. So it's more like I'm on the 2nd-ish sword. Hopefully Calrom spawns here in a minute. Why is it I have a rival protection? Or that just never go away? I think it just never went away. Come on, Calrom. Spawn for me, a little bastard. There he is. Jesus, he just charges and hits you like a truck. It's like, honk honk, motherfuckers. Boo! Alright. This is where a dodge roll would really come in handy, because this guy does hit like a freaking truck. And if ever I need to do healing, it's always against him. Now, I will say, I'm very thankful for the lifesteal amp fighting this guy. Because he got me down to almost half, and there I am, right back up to speed. It's one thing about playing a melee. You get all of those extra evade points, and then on top of it, you just equip that lifesteal, and you just hammer at him. And I've got the increased hit points because of the amount of extra hits I've taken over the life of my avatar's life. I do think that makes my toon more tanky than the average gun player, but it's not going to be a huge disparity. I might have like 10% more hit points, you know? But sometimes that makes a difference. And I do have the ring, so that helps too. Oh. I got a Halloween candy box. When consumed. Okay. Not going to complain about that. Alright guys, well, that was it for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time, so make sure you subscribe. And as always, I appreciate the support. We'll see you in the next one.